Hello and welcome to The Explainer. Now, if you're a product manager or an innovator working inside a European bank, then this is definitely for you. Today, we are going to unpack a kind of field guide, if you will, for not just surviving, but really thriving in the next couple of years. We're talking about the core strategic priorities that are going to define your relevance basically between now and 2026. And you know, this quote from the source material really just nails it right from the get-go. What we're talking about today, it is not a simple checklist. It's not a to-do list you can just tick off. No, think of it as a compass. It's a directional guide, right? It's about finding your bearings in this, well, let's face it, pretty chaotic landscape, and then moving forward with real purpose and, crucially, with a sense of urgency. All right, so here's our game plan for this explainer. First, we're going to set the scene with a compass for relevance. Then we'll dive into the three big strategic pillars: architecting for an open world, embedding intelligence and trust, and designing future-ready value. And finally, we'll wrap it all up with your next move. So, first things first, a compass for relevance. Why do we need one right now? Well, because the world you're operating in, it's just fundamentally different. You know this. It's volatile, it's unpredictable. Finance is becoming embedded, kind of disappearing into other apps and platforms. And of course, everything is being powered by AI, which completely rewrites the rules for things like efficiency and security. The bottom line is, in this new ecosystem, your old maps, they're basically useless. You need a completely new way to navigate. Okay, that brings us to our first major strategic direction: architecting for an open world. And look, this is about so much more than just technology. It's really about a fundamental shift in mindset. The whole idea of the bank as this closed, self-sufficient fortress, that era is well and truly over. The future is all about becoming a trusted, absolutely essential partner within a much, much bigger ecosystem. And this slide really just crystallizes that mental shift perfectly. The old way of thinking was all about customer ownership, right? Owning that entire relationship end to end. But the new model? It's about shared ecosystem trust. Think about it. A customer might start their journey on some retail website and only touch your bank for a split second to make a seamless payment. You don't own them. You participate in their journey. And in that one critical moment, you have to earn their trust. So the big question is, how do you actually participate in these ecosystems? Well, the key, and this is crucial, is to start treating your APIs as products. I mean, really as products. Your APIs for payments, for identity, for lending, they can't just be seen as dusty old technical connections anymore. No, they are valuable, standalone services that you need to design, manage, and even market to other businesses so they can plug your banking power directly into their own apps. So to make this happen, to really put it into practice, it boils down to three key actions. First, you've got to build a rock-solid consent infrastructure. This is non-negotiable, especially for us here in Europe with the new FIDA framework. That's the Financial Data Access Framework coming up. Second, like we just said, you have to design your APIs as consumable, valuable products. And third, you need to take all that incredible expertise you have in risk and compliance and embed it as a service that your partners can access right through those very APIs. All right, let's move on to our second big pillar, and you'll see how these ideas start to connect. We've talked about being open, but now we need to be intelligent. This is all about harnessing the absolutely massive power of AI. But, and this is a huge but, it's about doing it with that deep sense of responsibility and trust that has to remain the absolute bedrock of banking. And a fantastic example of this in action is how we fight fraud. I mean, the old model was totally reactive, wasn't it? You basically waited for the alarm to go off, and then you'd rush in to clean up the mess. The new model, the proactive defense, it uses shared intelligence and AI, partnering with telcos, with tech firms, even with other banks, to spot strange patterns and stop fraud before it can even happen. It's a huge shift from just playing defense to creating this proactive, system-wide shield. So to get this done, the priorities are really clear. Step one, you have to apply advanced AI to catch those really sophisticated threats that older systems just miss them. Step two, adopt continuous authentication. We have to move beyond just asking for a password once. And step three, And this is arguably the most important. You have to define a responsible AI framework. Everything you do with this powerful tech has to be governed by principles that ensure it's fair, transparent, and ultimately accountable. And a core part of any responsible AI framework is this idea of human in the loop. So what does that actually mean? Well, it's pretty simple. For the really high-stakes decisions, we're talking a big loan application, a serious fraud alert. The AI can do the heavy lifting, it can provide the analysis, but a human expert always makes the final call. It ensures that technology is there to assist our judgment, not to replace it. Okay, and that brings us perfectly to our third and final pillar, designing future-ready value. This is where everything we've talked about, openness, intelligence, trust, it all comes together. See, designing value that's truly ready for the future means realizing that an amazing customer experience and rock-solid compliance, they aren't two separate things anymore. They're two sides of the very same coin. And this slide, honestly, illustrates probably the most powerful reframe in this whole guide. For decades, regulation was seen as a burden, right? Just a checklist of constraints you had to deal with after the real work of product design was done. Well, the new model flips that completely on its head. It sees regulation as a design input. So things like PSD3 and FITA, they're not hurdles to jump over, they're a blueprint, a design brief sent from the future, telling you exactly how to build the next generation of innovative, secure products from the ground up. And for us here in Europe, this has some very specific, very real implications. It means you've got to be actively engaged with the new financial plumbing that's being built across the continent. We're talking about getting involved with the European Payments Initiative, the EPI, really leveraging instant payment rails like TIPS, participating in the digital euro pilots, and of course, as we've said, proactively planning for PSD3 and FITA. So how do you actually deliver on this promise of future-ready value? Well, here are 3 ways. First, you start treating every single payment, doesn't matter how small, as a crucial brand experience. Second, you use smart routing to orchestrate all the different payment rails, picking the absolute best one in real time based on speed, cost, or risk. And third, you have to localize your offerings, really tailoring them to the specific needs of SMEs and retail customers in your markets. All right. We have covered a lot of ground here, haven't we? We've gone from architecture to intelligence, all the way to value design. So now it's time to bring it all home and talk about your next move, how you chart your own course for relevance. So let's boil it all down. If you take just one thing away today, please let it be this. Your compass for relevance has 3 key directions. 1, architect for openness. 2, embed intelligence and trust. And 3, design future-ready value. These are not just items on a list. This is your compass for the next 2 years. And that leaves us with one last really critical question. I want you to take this back to your team. Looking at these 3 strategic domains, openness, intelligence, and future value, where is your bank already leading? And, be honest, where are you most vulnerable? Because the answer to that question, that isn't just a thought exercise, it's the "You Are Here" marker on your map to relevance. Thanks so much for joining this explainer.